Hello, everyone. Today, I want to walk you through a sample structure and approach for completing an assignment like the one focused on digital and marketing strategies of companies such as Coca Cola, John Lewis, and Metro Trains. The purpose of this example is to help you understand what a well developed business management assignment should look like in terms of structure, analytical depth, and professional presentation. In this session, I will be showing you how to move beyond simply answering questions and instead how to think critically, apply relevant theories, and support your points with credible academic and industry evidence. This sample demonstrates the expected level of clarity, coherence, and academic rigor that you should aim for in your submissions. It highlights how to introduce your ideas logically, develop well-structured arguments, and conclude each section effectively. Now, please keep in mind that this is just a sample for guidance purposes. Please note that I'm repeating it, that this is just a sample for guidance purposes. I understand that each of you has a different set of questions to answer in your assignment and that your topics or companies may vary. The goal here is not for you to copy this content, but rather to use it as a reference point to guide your own writing and thinking processes. Focus on the approach, how the content is organized, how arguments are built, and how evidence is integrated, rather than the specific examples used. By studying this sample carefully, you will gain a clearer idea of how to structure your introduction, link theories to practice, and critically evaluate real world business strategies. Whether your topic focuses on digital transformation, digital landscape, IT impact, IoT, marketing analytics, data analytics, or innovation management, the same principles of clarity, depth, and clear and critical engagement apply. Ultimately, this sample is designed to give you a directional framework, a clear sense of how to plan, write, and present your ideas in a way that reflects academic excellence and professional standards. So, moving on to the details and the structure of this assignment, we move on to the first part of this where you may notice the importance of formal assignment headers and declarations, including your full names, student IDs, and program titles. So please make sure that all of these details are mentioned as module details mentioned in your first cover sheet. And the submission date is essential for professionalism. The student declaration section is particularly important. It shows academic integrity, proper referencing, and transparency regarding the use of AI tools, as students always make sure to read and understand your university's academic misconduct policies. This helps students and you avoid plagiarism and ensure that your work meets the required standards. Next, the table of contents is more than just a list of questions. It acts as a roadmap for the reader. Each question should be clearly numbered and titled, allowing easy navigation and demonstrating organizational skills. Proper page numbering and heading show attention to detail, which is a hallmark of a high quality submission. When approaching question one, here are some of the details, guys. So, when you approach question one on Coca Cola's marketing strategy, the sample illustrates a clear structure and introduction to the company, explanation of the marketing concepts like viral marketing and rebranding, and detailed examples of companies such as Share a Coke. As a student, you should aim to do the following. For instance, define key marketing concepts using credible sources, provide concrete examples to demonstrate how the company applies these concepts. And then finally, you have to analyze the impact on brand image, customer engagement, and sales. So these are a few things which you're going to look into question one. But remember, as I mentioned, that your topic for assignment one would be different to the one which I'm just illustrating you as a sample. So, but you keep these things in your mind, and that when you have to define your question one, you probably need to think about the credible sources, marketing concepts, and then you have to add some concrete examples to demonstrate how the company applies these concepts. When you approach question two, which focuses on top marketing campaigns, notice how the sample explains why campaigns were successful, what strategies were used, and the role of digital tools here students should emphasize. Critical evaluation. So don't just describe campaigns, explain why they worked, what metrics indicated success, and any limitations or criticism. Then you have to talk about the digital tools application. So how these tools been applied. Similarly, you talk about the balanced assessment. So you have to discuss both strengths and limitations, such as high production cost or uncertain long-term behavioral impact. So these are a few points which you need to remember when you're approaching the question two. Then we have a question three, which is on the affiliate marketing. So the sample demonstrates how to analyze digital marketing techniques, explaining the model, how it drives traffic and sales, and potential risks like oversaturation. When writing your answers, you have to focus on. These are a few things which you need to remember when you're doing your question three. For instance, clear explanations of processes and strategies, linking theory to practice with examples, and then highlighting advantages, disadvantages, and practical implications for businesses and for different business models. So these things you need to remember for question three. And then finally, when you approach your question four, which is on location marketing, so you notice the structured approach, introduction, a role in customer journey, ethical considerations, regulatory compliance, and case studies. As a student, you should be able to do the followings. For instance, you should organize your response logically, starting with concepts, moving to practical applications, and then ethical legal considerations. So you have to use examples to illustrate points clearly. Incorporate references to support your claims, showing research depth, and then finally you discuss limitations or risks to demonstrate critical thinking. So throughout the assignment, you have to pay attention to the followings. This is very important, but that is related to your university guidelines, which you have to remember. For example, you have to talk about the referencings, use accurate, consistent citations like Harvard. You probably need to check with the Ulster University guideline that if they are using any particular referencing style. So in terms of the clarity, each paragraph should communicate one main idea with supporting evidence, and then finally you analysis over description, which is always aimed to explain why something works or does not work, not just what it is. So, in conclusion, this sample assignment is an excellent guide on structure, critical depth, and professional presentation expectations, but remember to develop your own analysis and examples, backed by research and clear reasoning. Following this approach will help you produce assignments that are coherent, insightful, and academically rigorous. These are a few strategies for when you approach different questions, but remember that this is your questions of your assignments are different to what we are presenting in the sample, but it is going to give you an idea that how you have to approach all these questions in a coherent, insightful, and academic rigorous way. So moving on to the first part of your assignment, so remember that in the first page of your assignment should be this one, which is a cover sheet where you're going to write your student full names, which is a list of students' names in here. Then there's student IDs here as well. And then you have to talk about your program title. Then you have module code and title, and then seminar, group, and campus, and then module leader or seminar tutor name, coursework title, and then finally the declaration. You put up the submission date as well. It could be earlier, and then the word limit. For instance, in this particular case, it could be 2,700 words. Okay, then you have table of contents where you can see the question 1, question 2, 3, and 4, and then finally references. Quite a few of students usually ask this question that do we need to write introduction, executive summary, and conclusion? So my answer to all of them is no. You are not required to write any introduction, executive summary, or the conclusion. This is a very simple, straightforward assignment where you have to start with the question 1, then question 2, question 3, and question 4. For instance, if you scroll it down, you get onto the, just like at the top, you can just say answer of question 1. You write the title of your question, and then you talk about this. For instance, here is a bit of a detail. In this sample, this particular sample has used some images, some pictures, but there is a problem with that. There is no reference or citations used in here. So when you use your images, please make sure that you use your references and citations. Then it talks about the wild marketing strategy. You can see there are a lot of references and details. And then again, you see the different pictures have been used in here. These pictures should have citations and references. Then this assignment talk about rebranding strategy, where you can see that a lot of text has been mentioned in here. But what I want is that if for instance, in the middle of that, you see that in this campaign, in this assignment, in this page, the student is referring to 42% of population has actually claimed something, but there is no citations or references available. So please make sure that when you're writing for your coursework, you mention the citations and references. Similarly, these two pictures, no citations and reference, and then some of the further details here as well. And then this student has used answer for or question two, and then they talk about the discussion on the question two in various aspects. For instance, favorite campaign, why the campaign was successful, and obviously all of these question followed by the text, which is a couple of paragraphs, headings and subheadings, and makes them, and to have, you have to add citations and references within the text to make it look critical and analytical. So similarly, this is how digital marketing tools made the campaign memorable. So obviously, when you scroll it down, you find that there are different campaigns run by Coca-Cola, and then how that has been adding a value to the business. So similarly, if you look at this one, this student has used ADA model. ADA model, if you use, I have mentioned it quite a few times in the classroom as well, that when you talk about a model, you need to put up the pictorial information as well as how that model is aligned to the business need and how the business have used that model to have an impact on the business. But this is a bit of missing in here. Then further you talk about the how digital marketing tools made it memorable, and then keep going, and then you move on to the question number 3, where it talks about the affiliate marketing. Again, in these paragraphs I can see the good use of references and citation, and each paragraph should not be more than 8 to 10 lines. Okay, and should have 3 to 4 references cited. Similarly, if you look at that one, I can see that this sample has put a lot of effort in grabbing the literature. But if you look at that one, you could have easily made it presentable. For instance, if you highlight this text, you can go on to having this justified, and then you look at that, it looks much better. And please read through your assignment brief and see that what is the font required to be used in this assignment. For instance, I remember that usually in all the universities it is 12 and Calibri, or it's the Arial. So please make sure that you have justified the text. Spell check has been done, and you have checked the grammar as well. So similarly, when you finish your question 3, you go on to the new page and you have a final question, which is the location-based marketing. If you look at this, the sample has got different types of text used, the fonts. So here is a Calibri, and then when you go on to this one, this is the Times New Roman. So this is not in alliance to the presentation requirements of the assignment. You're a postgraduate student, and you need to make sure that the presentation is well aligned, it is well presented, it is rightly justified text, for instance, like that, and it is throughout the text, it is the same font and color is used, and same heading styles are used as well, unless otherwise you wanted to make it prominent. But there are no models and theories used. For instance, there is a model used called ADA, but its pictorial information is missing, and it's a very little information given on that how this model has implemented and impacted on the business. So please make sure when you actually integrate any model into your assignments, you discuss that in a more analytical and critical way. So similarly, you go on to question 4. This is one of the pictures this sample has used, and I'm very pleased that here it has used the reference in here. But again, this is not the Harvard style referencing, so I'm not happy about this. So make sure that when you have a picture used, you use the Harvard style referencing, or check with your university that what referencing style they use. Similarly, we have got this table 1 where you got different types of data in here. This is absolutely fine. If you, as a writer, as an author, you have created a table to represent the information, you have to say created by author, and then when you say created by author, then you have to write here, let's say this is 2025, so you need to put that into the bracket as well. So make sure that you follow the guidelines for that one. And similarly, you keep talking about different things in here. Again, you need to think about it, like some of the text is bold, some of the text is italic, some of the text is underlined, so please make sure that it is exactly its same style throughout the document. So for instance, in this case, I would have done that as a right justified, go back into 12, and instead of Times New Roman, I think my university guideline says that I need to use Arial. So I will use press bold, and then I will come back onto that one as well. In other words, you can use this tool as well, which is the format Penta, and then we can use this one as well. So anyways, we move on to the case examples, and then you talk about different types of examples in here, and then you have to talk about the references. In terms of the references, again, the text is size is 11, font size is 11, and then it is using Calibri, which is again a different font used throughout the assignment. And then again, look at this one. This reference is bold. Well, it shouldn't be the bold one. So please make sure that you follow the guidelines when you are completing your assignment brief. Okay. So in brief, what you need to do is you have 4 questions to answer. Remember, these 4 questions have got different models to use. Be critical, analytical, use 8 to 10 lines of text, put inside citations, in-text citations, and all these references should be listed at the end of the document. And to have a good critical and analytical skill in a document, what you need is you need to have last 10 years of references cited with the text. Okay, so this is what all is about. I hope that this helped you in understanding the assignment brief. But if you've got any further questions, you can please ask me. And then I would say that thank you very much. And if you will have any questions, you can ask me whenever you need to. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the lessons. Take care. Hey everyone, today I want to walk you through to the assignment brief for digital landscape. This is to provide you a comprehensive academic breakdown of each question within the assignment 1A for the module, and it explains what students are being asked to demonstrate, what tutors should look for when assessing, and how students can meet the marking criteria, which could be content, interpretation, sources, language, and presentation to achieve high grades. So the context and purpose of the assignment is, in this assignment, we examine how digital technologies such as artificial intelligence, big data, and Internet of Things, IoT, and edge computing are transforming industries, reshaping consumer behavior, and redefining competitive advantage. This assessment aims to encourage students to analyze emerging digital technologies critically, help them connect theory to real-world applications and implications, and to develop their ability to synthesize technological, ethical, and strategic perspectives, and also to promote team-based research and collaboration, reflecting how digital projects operate in contemporary organizations. So this is, in this assignment, as it goes beyond summarizing the videos provided, it challenges students to engage with academic literature, professional report, and critical debate to show deep understanding and original thinking about how digital transformation in terms of the landscape affects business and the modern society. So the structure of this assignment is that students will view 4 short videos introducing key digital technologies, then answer 4 linked analytical questions. Each question corresponds to one technological area and encourages students to consider the followings. For instance, the first thing you have to consider is the benefits and risks associated with each technology. Then on the second is the strategic opportunities and ethical challenges they create, and the real-world implications for organizations, individuals, and society. And last but not the least is the interconnections and convergence between technologies. So these are a few things which we are going to explain in this short context today. So guys, the first thing is the assignment 1A, which as you can see on the screen is a case study on the digital landscape. There are 4 videos available, which I'll go through in a few minutes with you guys. So the word count is 2,500 words, which is plus minus 10%, and it's a group work, minimum 2 people and maximum 5 people, 2, 3, 4, or 5 people. Submission deadline is going to be Monday, 8th of December 2025 by 12 noon. Moving on to question 1 is, which is how can we balance the potential benefits of the Internet of Things, such as increased efficiency and convenience, with the growing concerns about privacy, security, and the potential for mass surveillance. How would I like you to break down your question when you answer this? Is this question requires a critical discussion of the dual nature of its benefits and risks. Students should do the following. So first of all, you are required to explain what IoT is using examples. For example, you can discuss the smart homes, wearable health devices, industrial automation. Then you discuss the benefits such as data-driven efficiency, productivity gains, and enhanced customer experience. And then you have to analyze risks, which could include cybersecurity threats, hacking, loss of personal data, and ethical issues around surveillance. Then you have to evaluate how to balance the two sides through strategies such as data governance frameworks, privacy by design, GDPR, compliance, and ethical AI integration. And then finally, what we will be looking for is to provide real world examples. For example, Tesla, Amazon, Alexa, smart cities, and support arguments with academic or industry sources. For example, that could be IEEE, Gartner, and McKinsey. But what we are looking for in depth is you demonstrated niche understanding that IoT is not purely positive or negative, and then how you have put into that application, which is sure awareness of how organizations can mitigate risks while maintaining innovation. And then finally is the evidence for the question one, which is use credible reports, journal articles, and examples to back up claims. So this is the breakdown of the first question, but remember you have to watch a video. Once you watch the video, then you have to break down your question as I mentioned in here, but this is not a discrete breakdown of the question, so you can go your way. If you think that you have to use some sort of frameworks or theories, so please feel free to add those ones in here. So once you have completed your question one, then we move on to question two, which is how can AI be leveraged to address pressing global challenges such as climate change, healthcare disparities, and economic inequality. And the breakdown could be in the sequence of like, as this question explores AI for social good. So students must move beyond describing AI to analyzing its impact on global challenges. So you should actually introduce AI fundamentals, which is machine learning, neural networks, discuss applications in sustainability and ethics, which can lead to climate change, which is AI for energy optimization, climate modeling, and smart grids. Then you can talk about healthcare, which is AI diagnostics, telemedicine, predictive analytics for pandemics. Yes. And then we have economic inequality, which is AI in education access, microfinance, and digital inclusion. Then you have to address challenges in terms of ethical dilemmas such as algorithm bias, digital divide, and job displacement. Finally, you have to highlight international efforts, for example, UN's AI for Good, WHO AI ethics framework. But what we are looking into your work would be a balanced argument showing both potential and limitations, which could be a use of case studies, DeepMind's AI for healthcare, IBM Watson for environment, reflection on sustainability and equity, not just technology. Then you have to use frameworks such as the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So these are a few points which you need to remember when you're answering your second question. Again, you're required to watch a video for question two. Once you have watched that video, then you have to answer the second question, which is the how can AI be leveraged to address pressing global challenges. So to answer these challenges, I have broken it down the few steps which you can actually consider when you do that, when you answer your questions. But remember, you can add your own headings, you can add your own subheadings, and you can actually go the way you feel like you need to answer the question. But this is just a structure, as a guided structure, which you can utilize for your assessment. Then we move on to question number three, which is how can organizations harness the power of big data analytics to drive innovation, improve decision making, and create sustainable competitive advantages in today's rapidly evolving business landscape? This question is quite tricky because this question has got, if you just broke it down into different sections, chunks, you can see that first of all, it is about harnessing the power of big data analytics. So they're talking about big data analytics, and how that analytics drive innovation. So this is quite a tricky part of the question. And then Both of these things, how? So first of all is the big data analytics, how it drives innovation, and then that innovation, how that helps improving decision making. So to create a sustainable competitive advantage. So looking at this question, there are four smaller sections which you have to answer. Which one is the big data analytics, drive innovation, and then improve decision making, and then finally the fourth part chunk could be the create sustainable competitive advantage. And to do that, this question focuses on strategic and organizational application of data analytics. So you should, as a student, you should be defining big data. For example, volume, velocity, variety, velocity, and value, and then explain how data analytics support innovation. And in terms of that, you can actually discuss identifying new trends, customer behavior insights, product development, and then you can discuss decision-making benefits in terms of how predictive analytics help in decision making, and then business intelligence and performance dashboards as well. Then you have to explain competitive advantage through real-time data insights and improved efficiency. And you can use some examples. For instance, you can use Netflix recommendation engine, Amazon customer analytics, and Tesco's club card data strategy. So you can use these as example to answer this question as well. And then you have to address ethical data handling and data protection issues. For example, while implementing these strategies, so what could be the ethical issues, and then how will you handle and protect them? So, for example, GDPR issues, data anonymization, so you're not breaching the data contract for that. Then you have what we are looking as teachers, what we are looking into your assignment is that you have a clear link between analytics and business performance. This is quite strategic in here. And then we have evidence of strategic thinking and data-driven culture. So you're required to proper use of models or frameworks. For example, you might like to use butterfly forces, resource-based view, or data value chain. It's up to you, whichever the framework you want to use. I know that in various seminars I have mentioned that all four questions, when you're answering this, they have to be critically analyzed, and then each question should use a model or a framework. With model or framework, you are going to lose the marks into your assignment. Then we have question number 4, which is how can the convergence of edge computing, IoT, big data, and AI create new opportunities and challenges for businesses? And what strategies can organizations adopt to maximize the benefits of this synergy? Again, you have to divide that question into smaller chunks. For instance, we're talking about the edge computing, then they talk about IoT, big data. So these three massive technologies are being used, and how these help AI to create new opportunities and challenges for businesses. And what strategies can organizations adopt to maximize? We are going to look into various aspects during this question. So this is a synthesis question, integrating multiple technologies into a single strategic discussion, as I mentioned earlier. So you, as a student, should be able to break it down into following chunks. For instance, as a first, you are going to explain what edge computing is and how it relates to IoT, big data, and AI. Then you discuss the synergistic potential. For example, you talk about reduced latency, real-time processing, faster insights, and decentralized intelligence. Then you have to identify new opportunities. For example, smart manufacturing, autonomous vehicles, personalized retail, and then you highlight challenges, integration complexity, infrastructure costs, interoperability, cybersecurity, and workforce upskilling. So the suggested strategies, which I think that you should be thinking about when you're answering this question, is the cloud edge hybrid architecture, data governance and interoperability frameworks, AI ethics policies, and then you talk about continuous innovation and staff training. That is probably one of the key points in this question. So what we are looking for you to do in this question is you have successful ability to synthesize and connect multiple digital technologies, forward-looking insight on future business models, and then you have examples from industry leaders, for example, Siemens, Microsoft Azure, Edge, Google Cloud, AI, and then finally, we will be looking in your answers that you have the strategic recommendations that are realistic and evidence-based. So all of these four questions have been explained and been broken down into smaller chunks for you to actually consider and when you're answering the questions. But again, all of these questions need to be critically analyzed. You can actually split the 2,500 words into 4 questions, which could be nearly 625 words for each question. Each question should have model or framework utilized, so you can discuss your video and your research alongside your model and framework. Okay, so how and what marks you will be given to as per your assessment brief. So this is a bit of a criteria given. Well, you can check that in your final assessment brief as well. For instance, your marking criteria on this section is that if the content is 40%, interpretation is 25%, sources 15%, language 10%, and then presentation is 10%. So what we'll look for when we talk about the content for 40%, we look at the depth, relevance, and understanding of each topic. Similarly, when we talk about the guidance to you guys is avoid surface level descriptions, show real insights, and analyze with example. This is quite tricky point in here because that is the major chunk of the marks is for the content. So remember, it shouldn't be a surface level discussion. Instead of, it has to be real and analytical. In terms of interpretation for 25%, which is the second highest chunk for marks, is the original thinking, critical engagement, and synthesis. For example, you are required to demonstrate independent thought. Don't just repeat the videos, apply ideas critically. Then the third thing is the sources, which you need to check with that you have used range and quality of references. Proper Harvard referencing is utilized. So use at least 5 high quality references. Industry plus academic, could be journal, could be conference paper. That's for each of questions you need to have 5 references. So altogether, what I was really expecting is 20 references minimum. And they should be from the last 10 years, not older than that. Then we have a language, which is 10%. So your language is clear, grammatical, logical flow. So you write in an academic but accessible style. Avoid jargon without explanation. And then you have presentation, which is the 10% part of the overall assessment, in which we'll look into your structure, headings, visuals, and word count compliance. And then we have use clear section headings per question, consistent formatting, and visuals if relevant. So this is the explanation of your questions as well as how that will be marked. Then we have the assignment 1B, which is a peer review and personal reflection of 600 words. So you must, when you are completing your 600 words personal reflection, you need to rate your teammates from 1 to 5 scale across the 4 categories. Write around 150 words per category, reflecting honestly on, for example, the ideology is that you're going to talk about ideas and suggestions, like how your team members been creative, and how they've been taking the initiative and collaborative brainstorming sessions you guys have been together. Then you have leadership and task organization, in which you talk about teamwork, delegation, and communication. Then you have information collection and collation, in which you talk about research efforts, critical analysis. And then last but not the least is the preparing and delivering written reports. For example, you talk about editing, referencing, finalization. In this section, what you're required to do is to discuss how your teammates have been working, how you have been collaborating to work together. So for instance, just an example, that if you say that one of my team members never answers the emails, never answers the phone calls, and not been participating in the brainstorming session as well, and he was not present in the session. Most of the sessions he has missed. But you mentioned the problem is there, but we as a lecturer, as a marker, I'm more interested in learning that when you reflect on your journey about completing your assessment and somebody was not adhered to the guidelines or not been participating into the brainstorming session, so how did you resolve that issue? What was your action on that? So the marks of this section will be awarded on the basis of the solutions, on the basis of the remedies you have taken in certain situations. Instead, if you just keep complaining about one of the team members or all of your team members, it is not going to help you. So there was a problem, that is fine, but how did you resolve it? What actions did you take? So it's more like a reflection on what actions you have taken. So guys, this is both the assessment for assignment 1A and assignment B. I just quickly skimming through now. Is the assignment 1A, 2,500 words. Make sure that you don't go beyond the word limit. So one thing here, students usually ask me, they say the the 2,500 words, does that include the table of contents as well as the resources as well? So my answer is no, they are excluded. So your word count will only be considered right from where you write question number one and go up to question number two, three, and end of four. That's it. And then the references and the table of contents are excluded to this word count. So I hope that this explanation is helpful and it is going to be providing you the breakdown of each questions. But again, if you got any questions and you're not unsure about something, please feel free to bring your queries to me during the seminar sessions, and I'm more than happy to answer those ones. So once again, thank you very much, and I'll see you soon during the seminars. Take care.